Hello, my friends. I am super stoked to be here to talk to you guys about this subject. I think that for the most part, on the beginning of your journey, especially in our day to day, this looks very different than when I started my gluten free and dairy free journey with my son. Just fixing my light, sorry. I was really fired up. I actually had to do my other pages video because I was really emotionally wired with anger. So I'm going to kind of tone it back with you guys, really kind of dive in and give you guys some tips about going gluten free with your child. Now, I'm going to share a little bit about our journey and when I decided to get us to go gluten free, this was many, many years ago, and we didn't have the grocery store options. People didn't all of a sudden realize, oh my goodness, I can make profit on this. And I'm going to create all of these gluten free products that are just as toxic as gluten products so that people will buy them. And so now when you go to the gluten or to the store, there are so many options with gluten free. There are all these bread options. There are all these health options, which I just did a video in my other page about the health halo and the way that companies can trick us into buying their products that are garbage. And so I really wanted to share a little bit about that part of the journey for you guys to understand and know. So if you want to learn about that, go to the other page, which is at EMD Healers in Instagram. And yeah, no, like when we started our gluten-free journey, there was nothing. And we even went pretty much grain-free. That was our choice to try to remove as much inflammatory products to allow for my son's microbiome to heal. And I wanted to really focus on allowing for all of that extra pressure that grains can cause, because they can cause inflammation. And so I wanted to just support him that way. So that means not going to the grocery store and choosing just swapping breads. And this is something that comes up a lot in when I used to teach essential oil classes as well, is I used to have a lot of parents ask me about my autism journey, or our autism journey. It wasn't really mine. And they would ask and say, I'm sorry, like, I don't understand, like, we've done the gluten-free, dairy-free things. And often I would ask, what types of products did you replace them with? What does it look like when you eat? And most of them would tell me the things that they were purchasing that were pre-made, that were still full of sugar, whether it was healthy sugar or not healthy sugar, it's still sugar. It was still just causing massive amounts of dysregulation in their sugar in the body, causing massive amount of sensory and cognitive impairment through synapse not being able to function, causing hormone disruptions. And they just didn't even understand that they weren't doing anything wrong because they didn't know. And a lot of this is us going forward with the trust that someone is actually looking out for us. But the truth is, the companies that are dealing with these products, for the most part, mind you, there are some very trustworthy companies out there, but the companies that are dealing for the most part are just in it for the profit. They are not putting our health first. And they know by marketing to you that this is a healthier product, even though it's not, that you will buy it because you're trying to be healthier. The average person today in Western culture wants to be and do better. They want to be healthier. The wellness industry is exploding like by 500%, like almost every single year. We want to do better. So rather than change the formulation of products, what's happening in our food is that they're changing the titles of their boxes to make it seem like their food is healthier than it is. And this is easy to see. And I was just giving an example on the other page saying, I had gone to Costco buying croutons and it said natural across, and I was kind of running by and I was like, well, that looks good. Grabbed it, which many of us do. I flipped it when I got home and there was only one natural ingredient in it. Everything else was modified. I'm sorry, if it's a chemical shitstorm, it's not natural. But because there is maybe 1% of a natural product in there, they can market it that way to you. So please be aware, our food is not regulated in any way. It's not even, thank goodness they have to tell us what's in the product now. Before they didn't even have to do that. But I want you guys to understand through this journey, if gluten is something that we know creates and disrupts the gut microbiome and causes what is it, dysbiosis or anyways, if it causes all of these issues of inflammation in the gut, whether it be from like, excess fermentation in the stomach, whether it be, a depleted microbiome, depleted villi, whatever is happening in the gut that it causes, there are studies that are coming out left, right, and center to educate us, to tell us that this may be something that we may want to try. And so us as parents, we decide that that's a great idea. We choose that product. We choose to attempt, I'm going to call it attempt, because with any new thing we fail. And so we attempt to bring in gluten-free foods. Number one, our kids generally don't even eat them because they're so picky. And then number two, once they finally do, after multiple attempts and different, trial and error, we don't even realize we see no changes. And so we revert back. And the reason we see no changes is because those products cause just as much inflammation as the actual food. So what do we do? So as parents, it's actually our job to become educated because our governments, that's what they say. Like whenever people have gone, even the governments, the WHO, like the sugar industry threatened to remove funding from the WHO when they were originally going to recommend the daily intake of sugar. It took 10 years after that for that to happen. The WHO never released it. So they have huge fingers in the world, in big organizations. And so what their rebuttal is for, and I've seen interviews, watching people go interview like Pepsi, Coca-Cola, and every time it's the same story, almost on a repeat when these giants come out and talk about it. It's this repeat of, it is up to the consumer to make these choices based on their education, except for we're lying, like they leave out that we're marketing and lying to them or twisting around the truth so that they feel that they are actually pursuing a product and purchasing a product that is healthier than it is. Cheerios, which I just posted in my stories, is a great example of this. Look at all the good work I do, but forget that I put glyphosate in my cereal. Forget that glyphosate is actually shown to destroy the microbiome and also create havoc in our littles. That's a whole other rant. I'm sure you got the gist if you look at my stories. The other thing is, so what do we do as an empowered parent? Okay, so this is the whole point of the video. What can we do? We really have to focus on being either a super reader, a super label reader, which I'll do a video later to kind of describe what labels look like, ingredients, what's good, what's bad. 90% of them are bad. If you're buying something in a package, it is likely not that great. This is really difficult for parents to hear, and I know that, but you need to actually start to think about focusing on whole foods, bringing it back to simple material, removing all of, if your child just wants to eat, snacks like fruits and vegetables at dinner time rather than like an actual meal, and they're willing to try like very certain fruits and vegetables, then that's okay. That is going to be way more satisfying and nourishing than watching them eat, something that's actually anti-nutrient, that's actually leaching out the nutrients they already have just to break this anti-nutrient food down. So bringing it back to the simplicity, if you really want to start making bread yourself, there are so many options now in the Pinterest world. Speak with your dollars, okay? You are the consumer. I'm going to say it like I said it in my stories recently. You are the one who has the power. You are consuming this. And not in a way that's putting it back on you, but you speak with your dollars. If you stop buying these products, what has to happen to the company? Well, they have to change or they go bankrupt. So we get to choose and force companies to do what we need. But the only way to do that is to become empowered and educated, right? Once you know and once you see how much we've been marketed to, even in the health food aisles, it's it'll cause a lot of anger. But we also realize that we have the power to change that, and it actually forces things to change. But our voices need to be heard. And so what it looks like when you're trying to replace gluten, it depends what your child is really addicted to. For the most part, the gluten that they're addicted to is usually full of either glyphosate, high fructose corn syrup, things that are purposefully creating multiple different layers of havoc in the body, not just one layer. And when we look at it that way, we can kind of see, okay, so how can I change that? And I've done picky eating videos. There's multiple ones. You start off by offering the liked food and then having the not liked food in small amounts. And then you can mix them together and then if they eat it, they get like the most liked food. You can use a reward system if you want to. You can slowly transition one to the other. If it's bread that they're addicted to, chop up the bread, slowly transition to a natural homemade bread that the ingredients that are in. Now, it will mean that likely you're not going to want to eat as much bread because you have to make it. And that's not a bad thing. We're not meant to eat the amount of carbs that we are eating, especially our children. There has to be a beautiful balance. And going back to our whole foods is going to be the most empowered thing you can do. Sorry, I'm checking my time, so I'm under 15 minutes. So I can post this to Instagram as well. So I hope that I'm going to end the video now. I hope that this gives you a little bit more education on understanding why gluten is not going to be as easy and may not look like what you think removing it looks like. You will not see the changes if you swap just from one gluten product to a gluten-free product. What needs to happen is a complete overhaul of inflammatory foods, things that are harming the body. Now, only you know what your family has been exposed to, what your son, for the most part, is eating. I can't tell you that. You know that. And that's why we create, those of us who have seen the biggest changes in our children, we have done so because, and we know that we cannot teach a cookie cutter method to another parent. What we can do is guide the mental mindset for them to connect to their own inner knowing so that they can see and start to read the language of their children, what their children need and ask for, because it's not always in words. Specifically in my journey, my son was fully nonverbal. I had to reevaluate my own lifestyle and then bridge that in with his in a way that created a sustainable and happy, joyful, shifted shifted life in every way, from food to stress to mental awareness to understanding and slowing down in a world that promotes the opposite. Basically, you have to turn yourself around when you're dealing with autism and look at that. Think of it as you're walking down the same road as everybody else right now, and you have to almost stop on a dime, turn around, and look at the side road that nobody's walking on, that's full of bumps and rocks and crevices, and make the choice to walk that way. It looks like that, and that's okay. It will make you and change you and actually allow you to see in a way that is different in your perspective of the world. You will be able to see programs that have been brought down to you generationally that are not serving anyone. And this is the gift you can give to your children. So I know this video was started off just with understanding gluten and how it looks like, but it really is not just the way you think it should look like. It's about questioning. And the sooner you can begin to question those around you, even me, I don't have all the answers for you. I can give you guidance. I can, share. I have tons of education. Yeah, that's great. But at the end of the day, I don't live in your home with you. Only you have that. And so it's time to question and observe and become aware of what is happening around you more. And that's what I had to do. So I'm not judging you. I have walked this path before with my own family. And I've seen it, and I've watched other families have the same success walking this similar path. All right, so I'm going to end this video here. Hopefully it's under 15 minutes so that we can all enjoy this, and I will talk to you guys later. If there's any questions, drop them in the comments. I will happily answer them.